Serenity now. I'm rolling, Joe.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores
brings you the final episode.
Brings you the last ever Garage Logic. Number 1289, April 17th is that fated day, 2024. 85 degrees on this day in 1985. And I looked ahead. That starts a string of record highs in 1985. And as chilly as 10 degrees on this day back in 1875. Now, this cold stretch we're in right now can't last. You'll be swimming soon. It's a great time to get a hold of Aquaside before the swimming season begins, because then you'll have that lake or pond free of weeds and algae where the kids swim, and they'll love it. Aquaside products are made in White Bear Lake. They're easy to use. They work quickly. They've been helping people maintain Great Lake shores for more than 60 years, and they're registered with the EPA and DNR. They're safe. Call Aquaside, describe what you're looking at in the swimming area. They'll help you identify the weed problem and make sure your place looks great all summer long. Call Aquaside at 1-800-328-9350 or go to aquaside.com, and our friends at Aquaside bring you the ice outs. Now, if you're ever in a bar bet, if somebody comes up with, what do you think what day in spring has probably featured the most ice outs? I'd probably go with today.
I could see a couple of fellas sitting at the stool.
April 17th. You might win a free beer with April 17th. I didn't do the counting.
420, Joe. 420.
No. Lit. Minnetonka went out on this day in 1914, 1915, 1920. 1922, 1939, 1969, 1971, 1978, and 1989.
Okay.
White Bear Lake went out on this day in 1947, 1954, 1969, 1970, 1978, and like Minnetonka, 1989.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
As long as we followed this story from its beginning, we should note that Uri Berliner, the NPR business editor who wrote a critical piece about his employers, has resigned. And his statement is as follows: I am resigning from NPR, a great American institution where I have worked for 25 years. I do not support calls to defund NPR. I respect the integrity of my colleagues and wish for NPR to thrive and do important journalism. But I cannot work in a newsroom where I am disparaged by a new CEO whose divisive views confirm the very problems at NPR I cite in my Free Press essay. You'll remember that he wrote a piece that appeared in the Barry Weiss Substack Free Press, in which he theorized that NPR had lost the trust of half of its listeners, for example. No one with a conservative thought would take them seriously, and he cited reasons why that is so. Now, it sounds to me like he's a little more influenced by the arrival of a new CEO than was otherwise led on, and that new CEO is a woman named Katherine Maher. She comes to NPR after being CEO. Is that right, Chris?
She was the former chief executive officer of Wikipedia.
And Reavers has found her addressing apparently her Wikipedia staff. Would that be correct?
She's having a TED Talk.
Oh, a TED Talk. But this is while she's still at Wikipedia.
Correct.
She's now brand new at NPR, but this is her at Wikipedia, and I got $1 if you can figure out what the hell she's saying.
Okay.
But what about the hard things, the places where we are prone to disagreement, say politics and religion? Well, as it turns out, not only does Wikipedia's model work there, it actually works really well. Because in our normal lives, these contentious conversations tend to erupt over disagreement about what the truth actually is. But the people who write these articles, they're not focused on the truth. They're focused on something else, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years of working with these brilliant folks, I've come to believe that they are onto something, that perhaps for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth might not be the right place to start. In fact, a reference for the truth might be a distraction that's getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done. Now, that is not to say that the truth doesn't exist, nor is it to say that the truth isn't important. Clearly, the search for the truth has led us to do great things, to learn great things. But I think if I were to really ask you to think about this, one of the things that we could all acknowledge is that part of the reason we have such glorious chronicles to the human experience in all forms of culture is because we acknowledge there are many different truths. And so in the spirit of that, I'm certain that the truth exists for you and probably for the person sitting next to you. But this may not be the same truth. This is because the truth of the matter is very often, for many people, what happens when we merge facts about the world with our beliefs about the world. So we all have different truths. They're based on things like where we come from, how we were raised, and how other people perceive us.
Now, on that alone, I endorse this fellow's resignation. He would be working for a woman who has made the truth irrelative in the pursuit of news.
I am astounded.
Back in the day when newspapers were still functioning and healthy and real, you'd occasionally get a new editor. And the new editor would come into the newsroom and everyone would gather around. And the new editor would bloviate for 10 minutes about, I'm glad to be here. And this is what I'm up to.
I love that.
This is what I'm up to. And if it was the case that a new editor came in and just gave, not that she's going to be the editor, she might as well be though. In the case that a new editor came in and gave those remarks, I can't believe, back in the day, remember, when newspapers are still real, I can't believe that anyone would have stayed in the newsroom.
Thank you. All I could think of is everybody on that staff should quit. They should walk out the door.
This is
I have
never
heard.
It's not that she's unhinged, that she's precious by half. She's too concerned about being everything to everyone. And she's willing to sacrifice the truth for her own demonstration of her personal virtue. And it's damaging. And yes.
When you watch the video, I'll post it to the GL site so listeners can see it for themselves. But when you watch her give the speech, it's 2 minutes and 12 seconds. The confidence with which she's giving this dissertation, is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a bloviate.
But what the confidence means, well, not only does she believe that, she thinks you're a fool if you don't believe what she believes.
Well, it's a way to disguise what continues to be happening at the likes of NPR. And that is the most outrageous nonsense can be passed off as truth if some people feel that that's the truth.
Yep.
Yes. Which
So
is
truth is a solid, finite thing, and to abandon it results in chaos.
She even said it herself. You could be sitting next to the person, or the person sitting next to you might have a different truth about the same subject.
And
Okay.
there's no shareholders or stockholders. There's no board. There's no one owner, right?
No, you have to pay for it.
It's the United States of America. It's taxpayers, or I shouldn't say taxpayers. It's people that donate to NPR. And when they hear this, they're going to love it. Absolutely love it.
Now, go back to Uri Berliner's remarks. You can see how they would be held in disfavor by this new woman, this new head of the operation.
Did we read her statement last week? I've been looking for it for the last 10 minutes. I can't find it. I found it last week, and it was. Does anybody here have it, John? Do you happen to have it?
I remember reading it. But...
Yeah, it was outrageous.
And Chris describes Katherine Maher somewhat misogynistically as a smoke show.
Yeah. Under normal circumstances, whatever she's spewing, I'm following along. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how you can say that.
It's astounding.
It's another example of I'm thrilled when we come upon corroboration for that which we have spoken about. These are people who are not interested in the truth.
It really gives you insight into why Wikipedia is the way it is, not necessarily about the truth and the direction that she's going to take NPR, which is frightening. She's auguring it into the ground.
Isn't Wikipedia's business model much the same as NPR, meaning it's donation based?
Well, let's not be hypocritical. We all almost by default flip to Wikipedia for quick information.
Right.
Well, it can be useful for sure.
But we all know how the information is used and disseminated and garnered on Wikipedia. So,
and I don't know that. I've never understood Wikipedia. Apparently, there is a means by which I could submit something to Wikipedia, and apparently there's a means by which that would be printed.
Joe Souchere once bought 3 magical beans at the local market and planted them in his backyard, and a vine grew up into the heavens. Yeah. He climbed that vine. It's that kind of nonsense that you can throw in there.
I get to contribute, right?
And then somebody else will come along, and it's back and forth, and
I never have contributed. I wouldn't know how to go about it. Are there instructions on the site?
Yeah,
for doing that.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of stuff wrong about me over the years.
Right. Yeah. Did you find anything yet, John?
All I found is a spokesperson who said that Maher, quote, believes it's a healthy thing for a public service newsroom to engage in rigorous consideration of the needs of our audiences, including where we serve our mission well and where we can serve it better, end quote. And that's in response to the original article that Berliner wrote.
The needs of her audience might very well be to coddle them with various versions of what used to be the truth.
Yeah. Boy, if I was a donor, I would be hopping mad. I'd be hopping around the house so angry.
There is a second piece of audio, but it's really, really bad to play on the show. And she's being interviewed by somebody from the Atlantic Council, which I am not familiar with. And it's a 30-second clip of Katherine Maher saying, quote, "The number one challenge that we see is the First Amendment in the United States," end quote.
What does she mean about that?
I don't know what that means.
I thought it was verbatim. No, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Germane to the conversation.
Well, the First Amendment includes saying whatever the hell you want, right? As long as it doesn't incite.
I guess the way a lot of people took that is, well, it's a problem unless it can be censored. Does that make sense? On certain platforms like NPR or Wikipedia.
I want to go back to Uri Berliner for a moment. It might very well be that he knew perfectly well this woman was coming aboard, and it motivated him to write the piece he wrote. And now he's able to say, and incidentally, now that she's here, I can't work here.
Yeah, I see that. Yep. This stuff had been adding up in his brain for the last few years, and it finally came to a head when she was signed on. Yep.
Tell me more about Katherine Maher. Katherine with a C?
With a K.
I have it with a K.
And Maher. Who is she? What did she do before Wikipedia? How old is she?
She's blonde.
We don't need to go into that. I don't care.
She's 40 years old. I do
all
know
right.
that.
Is she got a family?
Born in Wilton, Connecticut, New York University. She's got her bachelor's. Where did she go? After high school, she graduated from Arabic Language Institute's Arabic Language Intensive Program.
Wow, she speaks Arabic.
Of the American University in Cairo. That's in 2003.
All right.
She's also married to an Arab. That's why.
Oh, I see.
That developed her interest in the Middle East. And she's married. In 2005, bachelor's degree from New York University in Middle Eastern and Islamic Studies.
Wow.
Originally intended to be an academic and work for human rights and intentional development organizations. That was her intent. UNICEF, National Democratic Institute. She worked there as a ICT program officer. She worked at the World Bank. In 2014, she was the advocacy director at Washington, D.C.-based Access Now. She focused on the impact on people of laws about cybersecurity, morality, and defamation of the state that increase state censorship and reduce dissent. Access was a signatory of the Declaration of Internet Freedom. Communications officer at Wikimedia Foundation. She was interviewed by The Post on United States copyright law in 2016. She was the executive director of Wikimedia Foundation in 2016.
Is Wikimedia different than Wikipedia?
I don't know the distinction,
All right.
but yes.
All right.
Then in 2019, she became the CEO of Wikimedia. During her tenure, she helped improve fundraising efforts, increasing contributions to $140 million in 2021, up from $77 million 5 years earlier.
You need to get to the last one on there. That's the one that's probably most germane.
In 2024?
2022 to 2023, she was a member of the U.S. State's Department Foreign Affairs Policy Board, an expert panel established in 2011 by then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to advise U.S. officials.
Oh, very, very curious. Interesting.
Well, her bona fides are certainly in place to be a lefty.
Yes.
But be that as it may, I can see why people would have walked out of the newsroom hearing this truth nonsense.
She did step down on that role that I just described when she took the job at NPR.
Okay. Well,
we don't want a conflict of interest.
Well, NPR was probably more money.
Probably.
There you have it. So Uri Berliner, who was an unknown business editor prior to last week.
That's interesting, though. She took the job in January. When did Uri Berliner's piece originally appear?
Last week.
It was just a week ago.
Yeah. Oh, so he had been working. She's been there since January. Okay, he's been working under her
for a couple of months.
Her position. That's interesting. That's really interesting. It doesn't give you a lot of faith in NPR. I think she said exactly the wrong things to inspire any faith in NPR. I want the truth.
You mean that Wikipedia
PC
played?
But Joe, the truth is whatever you want it to be.
I guess it is. Stacy, the GL geologist, I don't even know if this is true.
Right.
Is reporting an earthquake in Japan. Is that true?
Well, do you believe it?
If it's coming from her, I believe it.
We personally know, Stacy.
Okay, so we can trust it.
It's a 6.3.
Ooh, that's a shaker.
Well, let me amend that. We can trust her as long as it's before, I'm going to say, 5 p.m.
Jesus.
Okay, there's a cutoff. Gotcha.
She's a friend of mine. I get to say that.
Then she has a geologist meeting.
Right.
Yes.
A safety meeting.
A safety meeting.
meeting.
I could probably be thrown in that camp as well.